Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of St. Lucy's Guide. This topic will be discussing websites. A lot of churches are developing websites now that we are in the midst of this pandemic, and it looks like it will be going on for at least another year. When the churches develop websites, it's beneficial to all the congregants, but certainly those of us with disabilities can take advantage of this if the website is designed uh, to be accessible. And these are some of the tips that can help when your church is looking at developing a website. Tip number one is always good to have the uh, photographs or images to be accompanied by alternative text. And alternative text is simply a way of allowing a person who is using a screen reader to be able to identify some narrative that accompanies the photograph or the image. So as the pointer goes over that particular image, that we can get a bit of a narrative to do that. Um, the next, providing alternative text really doesn't have to be done for all of the images on the page. Obviously, you want to have some sort of aesthetics on that, but if you use it too much for all the images on your page, it's just going to be cluttered with too much information. Um, some do's and don'ts for web images. Again, do use images. Make this web page of yours as aesthetically pleasing as possible. But we still want to be able to access it in some ways. Uh, so limit the images that are on there, even if you are trying to do it for the purposes of aesthetics, that it has some sort of meaning to what you're trying to convey. Uh, don't use images where other markups can do the same job. Simply using text can get the same clarity of your message out. Uh, so consider doing that. Do use IMG tags to place meaningful images on the page. Um, don't use CSS to place images that need alternative text. We've got to be able to access that. It's easy to use cut and paste, but then we're not able to access that using the screen reader. Um, another part of the aesthetics is consider using good color usage when it comes to your web page. Having a light background and a light colors for the text makes it very difficult to use, certainly for those of us with a visual impairment. If you can use contrasting colors, use a bright background and dark text, for example, can help a great deal. Um, Another thing that's difficult and frustrating is that if you're on a web page and you haven't been using it for a while, you can be timed out and be logged off. So avoid doing that without a warning. It's okay to be able to do that and necessary, I understand, but provide some sort of warning that a timeout might be occurring within the next few minutes, and give yourself a 1 or 2 minute warning that it might be occurring. Provide descriptive and distinctive links, certainly using colors, those sorts of things, and clearly identify where the link is at within the sentence so that it's very clear. Otherwise, if you're using a screen reader, it isn't always readily obvious that this is a link that's coming up. Um, Some other types of things that can be done would include making those links a different color, using colons, those sorts of things. Also, perhaps using a different style, that helps too. Perhaps even underlining the link is another way of making those distinctions so that we can know where the link is at versus just simply click here. Use abbreviations on your website. Be very clear with those, and use those limited. But if you are going to use any types of abbreviations, go back to the sort of an old school approach to that, where you would identify each of the letters, distinguishing them with a period. For example, if we're talking about the United States of America, rather than just typing in USA and having those letters and having the screen reader trying to figure out a word, it's going to identify it as just a misspelled word. So if you were to place U period, S period, A period, it makes it much more readily available for a screen reader to identify. Make sure that your website can be used by a screen reader, that we're able to maneuver around there. Remember, a lot of people will be using the tab key to move around your website, and please make sure that it's capable of doing that. Any types of coding that can be used, do use heading tags for heading, list elements for lists, etc. And block quotes, for normal formatting for block quotes so that we can find those. Don't format visually. Don't just assume that because it's aesthetically pleasing that it would allow for the screen reader to work, or that it's readily determined what a block quote from a regular paragraph could be. Using subtitles or transcripts for media. If your web content regularly includes videos or audios, try to provide subtitles so that we can identify that and be able to click on those videos, and we're not left out of that possibility. Explicit labeling for form fields. Certainly use HTML provided elements where possible, and then the screen reader would be able to identify those as well. And moving around, and sometimes it's not always easy to find those lists and links, and certainly when you're asking someone to fill out a survey or questionnaire, you certainly would want to be able to do that for any labeling text. Ensure keyboard accessibility, for instance, JavaScript validation events should be there. Utilize skip navigation for repetitive navigation links. Provide a way to bypass them so that we can just read that one page and then move on. Tables and frames. Do use tables markup for data table. Just identify it as a table. Will help us identify this is the information that you're trying to provide us with is in fact a table or a field, so that then we can get a gist of what's going on. For pages with multiple frames, add descriptive titles so that we can move on from area to area. And then finally, just take the advantage of, you've created your web page, have the church have someone with a disability actually use it before you launch it, or just do a beta type of um, uh, launching for that, and have someone with a disability actually go into the web page and use whatever devices that they tend to use, whether it is a screen reader, whatever types of screen readers it is, perhaps even a built-in one or JAWS or what have you, and do a trial run to see how well it's working and see what types of things that we might need to add for that person. There's nothing wrong with asking people what they think is readily normally done, regardless, and uh, and just to make sure that it's completely usable for all of the congregants. I hope you enjoyed this video and it provided some help. And if you would like additional information, please contact me. Thank you.